Thank you. So, welcome to everybody. Hello. Let me introduce you to our guests today. So I will start with this side of the table with Gabriele Zimmer. You are president of the group here at the Parliament of the European United Left, Nordic Green Left. Here we have Danuta Hübner. You are member of the European Popular Party, and you are a former European Commissioner for Regional Policies. Welcome. We have Adriana Cerretelli. You are a correspondent here in Brussels for the Italian economic daily Il Sole 24 Ore. And we have two readers of Presseurop, usual commentators of our website. We have Constantinos Papadakis. You are Greek. You come from Athens. Welcome. Thank you for being here. And we have Iñaki Apaolaza Goikoetxea. You are Spanish. You are from Toledo, but original from the Basque Country. So I would start with a simple question about this European crisis, the Eurozone crisis, and the austerity policy that have been debated here at the Parliament, at the European Council, that have been felt by our readers and all European citizens. Gabriele Zimmer, are you thinking that we are going out of these austerity policies now that the European Commission gives some more delay for the deficit in some countries, that some leaders, especially Angela Merkel, are changing course? Do you feel that we are going out of these policies?
I don't think so. If you look to the last Council, the decisions of the Council are marking a new paradigm. That means we have now a new special issue, what is saying all the things helping us, the European Union, to increase our competitiveness in the world is the most interesting, the most necessary thing we have to do. And that means that the programs and strategies for more jobs, for more growth, are behind the interest of the European Union for more competitiveness. Or if you look to the energy strategy, it's the same. To cut the energy costs, it's only looking for the industry, for the economy, not for the people. And that means also, if Merkel and others are speaking, it's not possible only to say austerity policy is a main measure. But I think so. If you look to the pressure done on the Greek government, on the Cyprus government, on Spain, on Italy, on Portugal, it's the same thing as before. I don't see an end of this austerity policy.
Danuta Hübner, do you think we are going out, or that we are changing course, and is it for the better?
But, you know, what I think is that we are clearly still in the crisis in Europe. It's basically the 5th year of the crisis, and the real challenge today is to do everything to reignite growth in Europe, and we should do it at European level, at national level, but also at local level. I think a lot can be done at local and regional level, and I would like to make it very clear that local authorities, the mayors of cities, of towns can also, should also get involved and help, especially the young people, to get the job. But I think what is very important is also to understand that when the austerity packages were introduced, they were introduced on the basis of some assumptions which turned to be wrong, because the austerity packages were supposed, in fact, to bring private investors. The confidence was supposed to be back. Private investors were supposed to fill the gap that the cut on public expenditure generated. Markets were supposed to react with positive, reducing the spreads and allowing the poor member states hit by the crisis to go to the market to sell their bonds. That didn't work. And also we didn't notice, I think, in Europe that markets very quickly started to look not only at what happens with deficits and debts, but also to look at the capacity of member states to start growth. And that's why the confidence didn't come back, because that was not clear. We couldn't, on the basis of austerity philosophy, we couldn't trigger growth in Europe. So that's why we started to relax somehow the austerity instruments to see that the growth can come back. But we are clearly not yet there, and I agree fully with my colleague that the real challenge today is growth for Europe and jobs. Without competitiveness, our jobs will not be sustainable because we will not be able to maintain them. So competitiveness, jobs and growth, this is something, a triangle which we have to take very seriously.
Adriana, Cerretelli, covering this crisis from Brussels, did you have the impression that this balance between the need to bring back confidence in the countries and the need not to make advantage for the industry or to take care of the citizens? What do you think of this balance? Was it easy to find for the politicians, or were they completely wrong from the start? And are they going to have the conscience now that they were wrong and that they are changing?
I am very, very critical of the government. I think that the Euro crisis is, first of all, a confidence crisis, but is not so much a crisis of confidence in the market. It's a crisis of confidence among the Europeans. I think that this is the greatest damage that we could have done to Europe. I think that before the Euro crisis, we had another Europe. Then we discovered during the crisis a non-Europe. I think that the crisis was started in so stupid and small, with a so stupid and small problem. If you had intervened immediately on the Greek problem, it should have been quite irrelevant in a real family. But we are not a true family. We discovered this during the crisis. And so now we have, I think personally, that to rebuild, we have to rebuild Europe, to rebuild confidence, to build a culture Europe. Because I think that during this crisis we unfortunately discover that the cultural divide between North and South was so deep that it was quite impossible to communicate. And then the crisis of confidence is also based on the fact that each government, and especially the German government, which is the most powerful in the Union, is thinking about his own national interest, which is normal in a way. But when you are the leader of a group of countries that, as it is in these cases, you have to be a little bit more, if you want to stay leader, you have to a little bit more open view. For example, during this crisis, the principle, the politics of solidarity has quite completely disappeared, because it is true that all the time the Germans are saying, oh, how can our taxpayer pay for this South Europe, which is not working, not as productive as it should be, and so on. But nobody says to the German taxpayer that they will pay for the euro crisis only if the euro is destroyed. Otherwise, they are only giving guarantees, which is important, sure, but it's also the minimum that you can give when you are in so big a crisis. So this is my point of view.
Gabriele Zimmer, Germany is seen as one of the main culprits for this management of the crisis. Is there a debate in Germany now in the campaign for the general election, and does this debate is reflected here at the parliament between German MEPs from different political groups?
Yes, we have in September the election to the German Bundestag. And what I'm criticizing is that the majority of the parties in Germany is not combining the electoral campaign to the Bundestag with a discussion about the issue of the European Union and the responsibility of Germany inside the European Union and in the Eurozone to stabilize and to show more solidarity to the other countries. The role of the government and especially of Angela Merkel, you can estimate if you look to the polls, more than 60, around 70% of the people are supporting the re-election of Angela Merkel, not the re-election of the CDU, but the re-election of Angela Merkel as Chancellor herself, because of the role of the German government during the crisis and because of the role in the European Union, of their acting role. And this is a problem. And that's why all the other parties who have another view, another vision of the European Union as a more solidarian union, union of social union, democratic union, ecological union. I mean the Social Democrats, the Greens, and also my own party, the left. They have to do more to combine this electoral campaign with more information, with more discussion about what is really going on the European Union and what is the responsibility of our own government in this crisis. We have to do more. But yes, it's a problem of all, and we have to overcome the position that too much party are thinking too much national. In a national way, they are thinking too much. We have to look for our own people. But you said they are dealing in a national interest, but it's not in the national interest what they are doing. They are only acting in the interest of special lobbies from the international financial markets or their own global organized companies. This is a problem. It's a special lobbyist government in Germany, and it's not what they are doing. It's not in the interest of the people in Germany.
May I add something? I do not agree at all. Yes, at all with you, because if you look at the effect of this crisis for Germany, you can see, for example, that the financing of sovereign debt for Germany is at a cost near to zero. In the south is very, very high, 3-4 points more. But the most important is that financing for the enterprise, for the companies, is still very, very low. And for the for competition, for example, you take an Italian company. For an Italian company to go to the bank and have a loan cost 3-4-5 points more than for a German enterprise. So I want to say that there is a sort of narrative to German people saying, we poor Germany, we have on our back all these South people that are doing nothing. But at the end of the day, you are gaining from this crisis. And this is really a fact.
So just one word, and
one remark. You don't make a difference between the people and the different groups in Germany. You can't say the poor people in Germany have the same impact and the same consequences from the crisis and they are benefiting from the crisis. No, they are not benefiting. Also not from the policy of the German government during the crisis in the Eurozone or in the Euro. You have a growing number of people which are affected by poverty. It's a lot of people. And they are saying, yes, we have a problem now. Who is looking to us? They are under the cover. They are under the cover, and to have to look also to them, not only to look to the interest of the industry, the economy, or all
just
them.
One word.
And
I
they
think
can't,
that the reason why
they will not get
they
a
are
credit
poor
from the
is
bank.
for the Schröder reform.
We're going to ask to Constantinos Papadakis. Do you feel that Germans are all poor, all rich, or that are you aware of these divisions? And what is your experience of these policies as a Greek who's been in the heart of these bailout policies and austerity policies? And what is your feelings about that?
No, I agree with Mr. Zimmer. There are poor and rich people in every European country. There are class differences. In Greece and in Germany and in Italy. Now, as for Greece, the experience of the crisis in Greece, Greece is of course the most affected country. Just to give you an idea, unemployment right now in Greece, the general unemployment is over 25%. And for young people, it's over 50%. So these are huge figures. So apart from the economic crisis, you have to look also at the social crisis and the political crisis also. So we have huge unemployment, especially among young people. We have young people leaving from the country to look for work elsewhere, either in Northern Europe or outside Europe, etc. And then also we have a political crisis, and this is reflected in the rise of a neo-fascist far-right party, which promotes anti-immigrant scapegoating and anti-immigrant violence. And this is the political crisis. So
are you saying that whatever the decisions now taken by European leaders, the consequences of the crisis in Greece, for instance, will be on the longer term than the economical decisions taken now, that the effect will be long felt in your country, and that it will be long before you go back to a normal situation?
I guess so, unless something changes dramatically. I don't know. But when we talk about the economic crisis and the response to that, and whether austerity is the right or wrong response, etc., I read in the press, both in the Greek press and in the European press lately, that they are saying that Greece is showing some improvement in terms of competitiveness and so on. But even if that's true, and even if austerity is working, which is debatable, it's not my personal opinion, but let's say it's true, you also have to take into account the social and political crisis. And my sense is that in the European policies, they are not taken into account. They look only at abstract figures like competitiveness, productivity, deficits, debt, etc., not at the human, social cost, the political crisis.
Iñaki Apaolaza Goikoetxea, you don't have a far-right party in Spain right now, but how would you define the social and political effect of this crisis on Spain and the relation to the policies not in Germany that we are told about?
I have, in my country, what I can see is that the austerity is not working. And our problem in Spain is not austerity, but employment. And employment is increasing, implementing these policies, and I can see our future in Greece. So I think it's wrong.
Do you fear that Spain will be
going
on the Greek way, or have you hope about that?
I see the evolution. The companies are destroyed, and I don't understand why we have to destroy a company to then to create. And it's the cuts. So austerity is cuts. No, it's austerity is cuts. And I don't understand why education, we reduce education, we close hospitals, but we will need this hospital in the future. So this politics is wrong for me.
Who could change that, do you think? Will it be a change of government in Spain? Will it be a change at the European level, here at the Parliament?
I think the confidence they talked about then, the unconfidence in Spain is precisely because the employment. So if we attack the policies to increase the employee, then you can gain the confidence of the markets. So I think we have to change this boat.
Mrs. Hübner, you wanted to
I
react.
just wanted
Yes.
to react to many issues because these are fascinating issues and there is no clear answer. I mean, there's nothing really good and nothing totally wrong with what we are doing. I think crisis has certainly taught us several lessons, and one of the most important is that we are all part of the same Europe, that we are all interlinked. And also this crisis, I think, has led to reforms which are unprecedented, which were unthinkable before the crisis hit. And what we did with financial sector reforms, what we did with economic governance for the Eurozone reforms, making ourselves much more resilient if in the future the crisis will come. But also I think what is important to see, because we are all very skeptical and negative, but we have to understand also that if we didn't have the integration, if we didn't have the common currency area, we wouldn't have been around the same table, we wouldn't have the solidarity instruments and the financial instruments also to help. We would be in currency wars, we would be in trade wars, we would be maybe even in the battlefield like we did in the past in the European history. So I think we have to appreciate that. But we certainly made a lot of mistakes with the way we approached the austerity, and we had a one-size-fits-all. Spain had very different problems than Greece or than Ireland had or Portugal, and we used the same approach, which I think was one of the mistakes. And now also I think what you mentioned, there is a kind of lost decade for you, because also productive capacity of the country to grow, the access to funding, which is a terrible barrier to growth today. But also, if I could just add again, because I'm obsessed with this local level, there are local labor markets. There are many lessons. I know in Spain examples of local areas where in País Vasco, where they found the way to help to create jobs for the young people. Why don't we learn more from each other today? The same is true for Greece. I think that Greece also could learn from how the Spaniards are doing something, why the Irish were of course competitive, but they started to get out of the crisis ahead of you. So I think we should, in this time of crisis, not only wait for the macroeconomic policies, which are extremely important to create stability and to bring the confidence back, but we should also try to see what small things can be
So what's
can
missing
be done.
to achieve this?
I think this is the problem of confidence. I think Gabriele mentioned it first, but then all of us talk about the lack of confidence. And I think it's lack of confidence everywhere. I mean, politicians vis-à-vis the public vis-à-vis, the politicians, the markets vis-à-vis the political decisions, the companies and banks. I mean, you have this lack of confidence everywhere. So unless we get it back, and we can get it back only, I think, when we start to see the first signs of change, which if we see it, I think we should show it, because I know that it's difficult to say to a Greek that one day it will be better because of what you did also, because you started reforms, you made all the cuts that make you gradually more competitive. So the challenge now is to really to get the growth going, get Europe moving on growth path. But don't forget that for matured, developed economies, we probably will not be back to very high growth levels, because our capacity to grow has also declined. So I think there is a new period of different growth, of different type of development we need, and there is nothing more important than pushing the innovation barrier forward in Europe, using the greening of the economy as a major vehicle also for change. It's not only the quality of life, it's also the business possibility for Europe. So I think there is a lot of potential. We just have to set our minds on really moving forward and on growth.
Adriana, Cerretelli, speaking about confidence, are you confident in the coming month when we talk about youth and employment, for instance, are you confident that it will be better, or are you worried about the evolution of Europe in Greece, in Spain, in Italy, for instance?
May I first answer to something? You said reforms. We made a lot of reforms. But for example, we didn't yet made the banking union. And if you listen to a lot of economists, they say that yes, the austerity is one of the reasons why we are in this recession. But the other big reason, and maybe a bigger reason, is the one that the credit is not going to the real economy. And why we are not doing the banking union? It's because Germany is against. So this is one thing. So I agree with the fact that we have to relaunch our competitiveness because we need it. But we have also to look around all the things. We can't ask people everything. And then when there is a reform which is very important to relaunch the economy, you say no. This, to me, poverty in Germany, for example. It is true that there is poverty. But, for example, what do you think of the fact that in Germany you are paying, due to the Schröder reform, people 3-4 euro per hour as a Bulgarian? I think this is dumping, and this is why Belgium and France have denounced Germany at the European Commission. So there are a lot of pieces of reality which are not noticed, maybe. But what do you think of the leader of Europe doing dumping, Chinese dumping, vis-à-vis the poor countries? This is one thing. And then the lot of confidence, I completely agree, but I think that the reason why the markets are so worried about Europe is because they are not confident of the political will to keep the euro and Europe together. And this is one of the results of this crisis. As far as the unemployment is concerned, I think that maybe one day or the other we will solve the problem, sure, but I think that we can't expect a lot of help from Europe because, for example, Germany is convinced that each country has to generate its own growth. And this in some way is understandable. But at the same time, when you are in this big crisis provoked by a wrong policy, then you could pretend some solidarity. But what kind of solidarity do you think is to give Europe 6 billion euro for 7 years for 28 countries? What do you think to do with this?
I'm sorry, can I just intervene?
Yes,
Because
sure.
I think
Yes.
I have been for the last years against the stereotypes of the southern people that we could feel also in Germany, but you are also creating a stereotype of a German. I think one of the most dangerous things that this crisis has created is that the attitudes of people towards other people in Europe have started to evolve. And exactly when I heard somewhere in the north about the Playa Sol, which is the most important for the people in Spain or in Portugal or in Greece. And then now you hear what the people in the south can think of the Germans. I think this is something terribly dangerous. And those new stereotypes, we have to fight against them, because I think among politicians this will change, because there will be a will and there will be new politicians, so we will again have good cooperation. But if we have this new vision of the southerners in the north and northerners in the south that is really dividing us, there will be a disaster. So this is something, let's say no to this. But I wanted to mention one more thing, because when I go to Poland and I talk to young people, because unemployment of young people, we agree probably is the biggest shame of Europe and scandal, and we should do everything to just fight against it. But I talk to young Poles, and they tell me how they create new jobs on the internet. She just, a young lady just started a new enterprise helping people who have dogs, and now they want to have a cat, and she made a course in psychology of animals, and she has a company which is just growing like this daily. And then, so she's thinking how to make a job for myself. Then I go to Spain, and I talk to young Spaniards who now love to live with their parents, with their grandmothers. They go to have a dinner there, and then they can live for 100 euro the whole month, and they don't think of creating themselves a job. They are waiting for somebody to create them a job. I'm exaggerating a little bit, and I hope I don't offend anybody, but there are those two attitudes. So I think to do something in Spain, in Greece, to help those young people understand and help them maybe also financially to start a new job, to start a new company, to go for new ideas, because they have brilliant ideas. I also talked to some young Greeks. They could do it, but there is something is lacking. They don't think they can succeed in this. So if you could work more with the young people, first of all, talk to them, so they would not go out to the streets if somebody talks to them, and nobody talks to them. We just watch them on TV, and then I think we could do more, because we need those active attitudes and the trust, and they see they can create something and live over it, the confidence will gradually also come back.
Do you think it's a lack of motivation, of confidence, or hope, simply, this absence of creation of new companies by young people in Spain?
I think the confidence is in the situation of the country. And employment is a factor very, very important. So here the rates, it looks that it's the best important, but they are related. And I think how she said later, our problems are different. So Greece problems and Spain problems are different. So we need different policies to each country, and not all the same, because austerity in the northern countries is still worse for the southern countries, because they don't buy products that we can. We need to improve our competitiveness, and we can produce if you don't buy. Sorry, my English is not very good, but I do my best.
And Constantinos Papadakis, do Greeks have the motivation to work and to create things, or is it the same kind of situation of lack of hope and confidence and or means, just money to have new companies?
I don't think it's just an issue of motivation only. And it depends what you mean by motivation. For instance, there is in northern Greece a factory, a chemical factory.
Motivation would be, do they think it's worth trying or not,
right,
because of the
situation?
situation?
Well, I can give you this example. There was in northern Greece a chemical factory that was closed down. Its owner essentially abandoned it, and the workers took it over. And they are working it right now, doing self-management, basically. So I think that's an example of motivation. Maybe it's not exactly what you have in mind, but I think that, and there are also all sorts of local solidarity initiatives of people helping each other. But I don't think that you can sort of psychologize and subjectivize such an issue, that it is a lack of subjective motivation. I think it's something more structural everywhere in Europe.
It's not simple at all. I think it's a multidimensional crisis. The response was multidimensional, and we have to probably proceed through all those paths of at the local level, regional, national, European, and absolutely no one size fits all. I think we agree with this. But in Spain, if you think, you never had unemployment rate below 8%. Throughout the last years. So also in Poland, for example, today we have 14, but we never had below 8%. This is structural. This you cannot, I mean, after the transition, you had winners and losers. Some people would never go back to the markets. We need a good social policy for those people. But so it's probably less than we think, the unemployment, the real employment. But we cannot, we need we need active policies. We cannot think that growth will happen in Europe. It will not. We need to act.
Just Gabriele Zimmer, do you want to
I think, yes, it's necessary to look to the living conditions and the situation for everybody, for women, for men in the European Union. And one of the values in the European Union is to say, okay, independent from the place you are living, you have the same right to live in dignity, to work and to live in dignity. And for this we have to look. And that's why I think what the main problem with the austerity policy is that there is the background for this is a strategy. This is a strategy on competitiveness for participation of the European Union and the world market. And this is a problem we have. If I'm looking on the fact that the euro should be a good instrument for this competitiveness, I will not look on the situation on the poorest people. But what we are seeing is we have a structure. You have said it. It's a structural question also. If I don't mention the structure for dividing the people in all the member states, we will not find back for more confidence in the project of the European Union. If you don't want to give the European Union a social component, a social dimension, an ecological dimension, and you will lose also the participation in democracy. Look to Croatia. Croatia is joining the European Union, and the first election to the European Parliament, we have a participation of the people by 20%. 20%. And this will be for the next election, this is a catastrophe. Then we can say, oh, let's go home. I don't want to go home. I need this European Union. Because I think, as a left, as a woman which is very engaged in social affairs, I think we are not able to go back to the national systems and to say there in the national system we are able to defend the rights, the standards for the people. We are living in another world. We have to fight in this European Union, and we need the people. They have to vote for this. They have to say, no, we don't accept that you're deciding over us, that you are giving us this austerity policies, that you are cutting all the public expenditures, that public goods, common goods, public services are not on the list of your values, that you are against it, that the privatization of social systems, of pension systems, this is not the way we can find confidence back. I say it concretely. So we have to turn this policy.
So are you afraid that European citizens won't go to the polls next year for the European elections? And what will be your message to give them the motivation to come to vote and participate in these elections?
My motivation is
situation of crisis.
Or to say to them, don't trust that the government do it alone. If they don't have your pressure, if they don't are feeling that so your interest is another interest, they don't want to change their policy. They don't look on you. They are only under the pressure by others, and they have more forces. But we have to show that the people in all member states, that they have the power and that they are able to change this policy. And one of this is also to go to the European elections and to vote and to say, stop this austerity policy, stop this policy of privatization, liberalization of public goods, public services, and this is the only way we can get it back.
Will you have the same message for the campaign?
I come from a country, I don't come from Greece, but I sometimes feel Greek when I'm with you on many issues. But I come from Poland, and for the last elections to European Parliament, we had 23 or 24 turnout rate. And normally for the elections in general, we have extremely low turnout of the people. This is terribly bad, and that's why I think that we have to say very clear, if you don't go to elections...
Do you think it will be worse with the crisis? And,
what I would like to say is that if you don't go to elections, others decide for you. And that's not what I would like as an individual have. So that's why I go to elections always. I hope people will go. Paradoxically, because of the crisis, there is more talk about Europe in Europe among the people, because we of course blame Europe, and politicians blame Europe as usual for everything that is bad. But I also think that people can see what comes from Europe during the crisis, which is a bad news for bad association, bad identification also in some people's minds. So we can suffer from it because people might not go in spite of the fact that we talk so much about Europe. But maybe also among young people, the reaction will be the opposite, that the reaction would be exactly, yes. So I think we will I hope we will see a bigger participation in the next year in the parliament, in the election. But then it's up to us, to those who will be participating in elections, to the potential candidates, that they should talk really honestly about Europe, and they should present the choices, and they should just get people also on board, saying what Gabriele was saying, that if you participate, you can have impact, you can have more social Europe, you can have all those dimensions that are important for citizens. So I guess you don't lose anything. You can only win if you go to the elections.
Constantinos Papadakis, will you, maybe it's indiscreet, will you go voting next year, and what would be your expectations or message as a citizens if you go voting?
Well, if I am in Greece, I will. I'm not sure I will be in Greece. Now, what kind of turnout we will have in Greece, I have no idea, because the situation in Greece is rather unpredictable in recent years. So if you asked me just 5 years ago that we will have a far-right neo-fascist party in the parliament, and also we would have Syriza, which is a left party, as the main opposition party, I would not believe it. I would say you're kidding. So I have no idea what the turnout will be in Greece and what they will vote. I think nobody can predict that.
Do you think it will be an opportunity to have a more important part in the decisions in Europe to change the situation instead of just a national election?
Sure, I would like to think that. That's how I think of it personally, but I don't know what most of the people will think, because Euroscepticism has also increased in Greece very much with the crisis, so maybe that will lead to abstention. I have no idea, really. I can't predict anything.
Iñaki, same question. What will you do?
I will say only a sentence. I think it's the resume of Europe must to think more on people and not only about the markets. So the priority is the people and not the markets. And it's the only thing I have to say.
Is it true, Adriana? What would you reply to that?
I think this is true, but the situation is much more complicated, unfortunately. Yes, priority, but Europe has never thought of its own citizens.
I am agree with austerity, but not the moment to apply now. I think so.
So do you think politicians still have the power to change something on the situation in the countries in crisis, or is it just a long-term evolution that we can do nothing about and markets?
No, I think it's confidence. The problem to me is confidence. For example, I want to comment what you were saying about the young Polish, which were motivated, and the Spaniard not. I think there is a big difference in the approach to Europe in Poland and in Spain or in the Mediterranean, generally speaking, because in some way you come from a recent past, very, very tough, and you arrive in Europe with a big hope in the future. So, yes, but it was a long time ago. And you are not in the euro, and this is a big difference to me. In Spain, as in Italy, as in Greece, during this crisis, we lost the hope in the future. And this is the reason why you have no more motivation. If you go back to Italy, to my country used to be a very good mood country, all the time smiling. Now, we are all sad. People is really anguish. Because they don't see their future. They are afraid. You used to be afraid in another time of your history, and you arrive in a new reality. And we are on the opposite side of the coin now. Because unfortunately, we are now where you were in your recent past. And that's the problem to me, and this is the disaster of the euro crisis. When I speak about the crisis of confidence, I think you have this crisis at a lot of levels, also on a psychological level, and this is really the worst that you can imagine for having the motivation to restart, because in the history you have crisis and then you get out of the crisis. But we lost the spirit to go out, and in the meantime we lost also the European spirit. And this is, to me, the biggest damage.
Have you lost your European spirit with this crisis?
Well, it has been put in severe test, let's say.
He's very diplomatic.
Yeah. That's for your personal case, but as your family, your neighbors, your friends, how would you describe their state of mind?
They have become more critical of the EU.
Of politics in general, of Europe, of their government?
Yes, of the role of the Greek government and of the Greek establishment and of the European, also European level.
The same for you, your friends, families, and yourself.
Ask again, please. Ask again the question. I then.
Just what's the state of mind? Adriana was saying the loss of European spirit. So have you lost it, and what's your state of mind now?
Well, I'm totally agree with all she said. Totally. The hope for the people is very important, even more than money. But
Yes.
the hope to see the final of the tunnel.
Yeah.
This is the most important thing, I think.
Yeah, that was
Agree.
major, as you said, the major difference, because Poland in '92, we had minus 20% growth rate. So we had the recession that was even like in Latvia recently, extremely serious. We had overnight inflation of 2,000%. But then there was this light in the tunnel, which was at that time European Union, and we are moving to democracy, to market economy. So we knew that we are now paying a price for something that will come. So the challenge for all of us is now how to make the Spaniards, the Greeks, all of us, again, start to believe that Europe is the solution, that Europe is not a problem. And that's why I don't believe this lack of democratic legitimacy or the lack of the social dimension, because many reforms, in fact, are sort of leaving the social dimension aside or not taking it on board, which we all know, but it's not so easy probably. So I think there is no one single solution to all those things. That's why I'm just underlining this need of really acting at different levels, and all those of us who know how to do it, we should also use the elections to convince people that Europe is the solution for Europe. There is no other option. I mean, we all know that Euro is here to stay, and that Euro, in fact, can stabilize Europe, and that Euro can bring growth if we make it right. So I think that just we have learned a lot from the crisis, and just now we have to start to build the future, to show to the young people, to young Spaniards, young Greeks, but also to young Germans and Poles, to everybody, that Europe has an idea for its future, but we have to get together. And this bringing people together, I think, for action, this is something which politicians must do. So I would say political elites have really to start acting, because that's our responsibility.
Do you feel your responsibility in that, and do you think also that Europe is the solution, or can this solution come from someone else?
No. I think, first of all, we have to say there is no simple solution for all our problems we have. We can't solve the problem in only to make one proposal and to say this is the only solution. This is not possible. It's a very, very complicated situation. And for this, I think the governments of the European Union, all the political parties, all the social initiatives, the trade unions should organize a broad debate about the way we can come out of this crisis. What should we do? What's necessary? And also to include the people. But we should also find a solution. We have to show a perspective. Because if we have no future, if there is no future for young people, this will be the end of the European Union. If the young generation is saying, no, the European Union is not our home, it's not the union where we are happy, where we want to live, then this will be the end. And I was, yes, I'm from Eastern Germany. In the end of the 80s, I have seen that it's possible that society is destroying. It's implosion of a society. You can see it. And some of this is remembering me now on this period. Because if the politicians are saying, yes, we are doing the right, we see what is going on, it's okay, we have only to better explain our policies that the people can understand it better, nothing will change. We need changes. We need changes. Not in the way Obama did it, to say, yes, I can, but we have to make clear what kind of changes we need, and that we can't do it as for us alone. We as a left group in the European Parliament, we are only 4%, and that means that the people who are not supporting this kind of policy, that they have to take their own rights, they have to go to the election, but not alone. We have also to look what is going on with Blockupy last weekend in Frankfurt. What is the main thing behind them? Why they are acting so? Why they are acting in this way? And they have no confidence to the politicians, to the established classes. And for this, we need a new discussion. We have to say, okay, we need Europe. We need the European Union. We want it. It's the only way to come out of a way of conflicts. We have seen it in the last century. And in my mind, if we had not the European Union, it could be that this economical, financial contradictions and different interests between different economies could be a new war. The European Union is the only framework to say, no, this will not be a new war. We have to find a solution. But for this, we have to find. And what I would like to say, I know about the situation and about the feeling of a lot of people in Greece, in Spain, in Portugal, and that they don't find a perspective and the motivation, that they lost their trust in the European Union. But what I want to say is, we have to come back to the main principle of our living together, the solidarity. We have to come back on this level. And what I'm saying is, yes, the people are discussing more about Europe, but the reaction is not to go to the vote. The reaction is to go also to support right extreme and fascist and nationalist forces and groups. And for this, I'm afraid. And I'm saying the governments have also an obligation not to take and not to be willing to take the nationalist card. We have to play not this nationalist card. We have to say we are together. And we can only solve this crisis together, and not against the Greeks, and not against the Germans, and not against the Polish people or the Spanish people. We have to do it together. So this is our own chance to do it.
Are you ready to enter this new conversation with politicians and leaders? And what would you like to tell them?
We have not to be against one to other. This is not problem not solved. So it's an economical problem to affect especially to the banks. But I think they translated the problem of the banks to the people. And it's that I think is totally wrong.
But what do you expect from MEPs and
I don't
from
know.
politicians
if I say nothing, it will be a little harsh.
No, you just do it alone. I mean, that would be a good idea if you have to be active.
I think if they change in mind and think the North is people, but well, maybe it's a hope for us. But if they are thinking only in the markets, we are totally...
Constantinos, do you feel that the link between politicians and citizens is broken, and do you think this conversation is still possible, and what would it be in your mind?
Well, yes. In Greece, certainly, there is a collapse of trust in many institutions, in the mainstream political parties, in the unions, in many institutions. There is a lack of trust of people, and it's very difficult to see how this can be rebuilt.
Danuta Hübner, would you say that?
You cannot be so pessimistic as a young person, I think. You just, because I'm surprised by your sort of lack of activism, in the sense of there are things to do, we have to do, and you have to talk to your colleagues, and we all have to move together, because the politicians also will not be able to do everything for you. I mean, they make a lot of decisions. They have to make it together with you, not behind the closed doors, and that's why in the European Parliament, which is the only directly elected European institution, we fight for democratic legitimacy. We don't want that the member states just make decisions behind the closed doors without the involvement of national parliaments, of European Parliament. But those are elected bodies, so you have to go to election. You have to decide whom you want to see in European Parliament for Greece in the next 5 years, and then just talk to this guy or this lady. That's how you can influence those who make decisions. Otherwise, if you just ignore them, they might continue to do things that you don't like. So that's the only way to be active, is just to also participate in democratic procedures, which we have in Europe, because we are democracies, but also don't wait for positive, constructive things to happen, because you can contribute to the change as well. I'm sorry, I interrupted you, but I was surprised by your sort of near to pessimism approach.
No,
no, you are not.
I'm just describing a situation. It's not. No, I agree with you. People need to mobilize and participate, but take into account that Greece, especially in the beginning of the crisis, was the site of intense popular mobilizations. You had demonstrations, you had all sorts of things going on. People right now are sort of tired and desperate, and they have this idea that, we can't change, the system through the normal way, Personally, I support initiatives of solidarity between citizens that do not pass through the official institutions, people helping each other mutually, taking the initiative on their own, not through parties or through established institutions. And there is this thing going on in Greece.
Okay, we are approaching the end of this debate, so a last word for all of you. Adriana, you wanted to add something?
May I ask you one thing? You say we have to think positive about Europe. And you say as Parliament we have...
You want me to say something different?
No. And so I ask you one question. Will you as a European Parliament reject the multi-annual budget that was decided at the summit for the first time in the European history with a cut in real terms? I think that this could be a good concrete signal. Yeah. But if the Parliament at the end of the day will approve a sort of, typical political agreement, I don't think this could be a good message.
I am extremely happy that Adriana raised this issue, because exactly I wanted
just
to say that we are going to show that we care for Europe, because if we talk about the growth and jobs for young people, we have to make the decision on the next multi-annual financial framework. It's a tiny, tiny budget, but it has a strong leverage and strong positive impact on involving people, because most of the projects, for example, the policy that I still, as a chair of the Committee for Regional Development, feel responsible, which is the cohesion or regional policy. This is the investment money for projects that are implemented, for ideas that people have that want to have a project. So we need this budget, and I'm absolutely convinced that this Parliament after getting what we need, which is more flexibility, better possibility of using better the money, not losing the money if it's not spent in a certain way.
You will accept
so I will act myself in this direction, because I think we need to launch the new policies as quickly as possible, because if we are serious about growth, we also need to have the budget. But there is still, the negotiation is ongoing. I'm sure the Parliament will show responsibility, but that we also will convince the Council that ideas that we have can serve better this budget.
I will not accept it.
Okay, I agree with you.
Have the last word.
So you want that
yes,
there's no growth?
because
No, I want
yes,
to
yes, yes.
growth.
Because
So
I think the main problem is the structure of the multi-annual framework is the structure. It's not only that we said the Council decided too much what he had.
What do you mean
The structure.
What?
We need a multi-annual framework which allowed us to fight also poverty, to fight also
But why do
social.
you say that we don't have it?
Look to the European Social Fund. It's one of the part. I'm in the trilogue committee. And I can say you that the member states are interested in to took away the 20% inside the European Social Fund to fighting poverty, to fight the social exclusion. And if you had seen in which kind of way they thought about the fund for the aid of most deprived people, you can see the European Parliament, the European institutions, especially the presidency, they have different positions concerning to give a concrete symbol, a concrete sign to the people living in poverty. They have to give, yes,
No, we are talking about two different things. I am also chairing 5 trialogues on cohesion policy, and we are fighting with member states like
Yes,
lions
it's clear,
here.
but in the end-
But the money is, you ask about the decision on the money, on the MFF, not about the regulatory framework. These are two
And the
different
global
things.
demand is not enough, because some of the most strong, economical strong countries, especially as Germany, are not willing to give at least this what they paid in the last period. They reduced it, and that is not enough. If you want to fight against poverty, you need this money. You need it. If you want to strengthen the solidarity between the member states, you need more money also for this budget. And for this, because they don't want to negotiate about the amount, we can't accept this.
Yeah, but nobody is accepting this. We are fighting, we are negotiating, but at the end of the day, we will need the budget to start the investment as of 1st of January. Do we really want to not to have budget? If we don't have multi-annual budget, but we go through annual budgets, that's the end of cohesion policy, because this is a multi-annual programming there. That's the end of Horizon 2020, because it's also multi-annual programming. So we need this budget, but I'm not saying that we don't have to.
Do you mean the room for maneuvering?
Absolutely, we have to negotiate till the last drop of our blood, but we need this budget.
Technicalities, if I may.
What is technicality?
The fact that you say we can start this and this, we will start it
For me to
6
start
months later. But yes, but
Do
we
you
can
want to
do
wait
it.
6
But
months
politically
with gross
speaking,
investment?
if the European Parliament want to exist, politically speaking, and want to get more consensus, it has to make this battle, because this is a thing near to the problems of the citizens, because there is the social dimension, the industrial dimension, innovation, etc., etc. All these programs were cut in some way, in real terms. And then the message during a recession, which is the worst recession after the Second War in Europe, then you cut the common budget in real terms. This is a scandal to me. This is no Europe.
But this
story.
is something which we
our
already
story.
discussed. Absolutely, I agree with you that the budget, it's a shame that we have such a small budget for the, I mean, in general, that Europe has a budget of 1%. But we are talking...
In the end, we will have for more obligations.
About the
For
commitment.
one member state more. We have a budget less 88 billion euro for the next 7 years. This is the reality,
Yes.
and this is not enough, and this is a shame for the strong member states.
But we are talking about the commitment of two major institutions, political institutions, the Parliament and the Council, to find agreement on the budget. That's what I'm talking about. So I sincerely hope that we will find agreement and we will start the investment in growth as of 1st of January. That's what I'm saying. But I'm not saying that I like this, to have a low budget or anything like that.
When will it be
yeah.
decided, this agreement?
We
do
still
you
have,
think
there
you
is a
will-
plan, but we don't know at this stage. But Europe needs a budget. That's my line.
And need jobs and needs to get out of
Yeah.
the crisis. So thank you very much to all of you, Gabriele Zimmer, Adriana, Cerretelli, Constantinos Papadakis, Iñaki, I will say it badly again, Apaolaza Goikoetxea, and Danuta Hübner. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
¿De dónde viene?
So.